Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal.
Devil All the Time movie review. Once upon a time in 1957, Papermill town Meade and Knockenstiff is a few miles up the road. 400 people lived there at the time, most work in some kind of way. Of course, in a close-knit small city things don't change, people don't change very much. Before Willard fell in love, he met a sweet waitress with red hair. She wasn't a skinny girl, she was thick and beautiful and kind. She fed a man out back after he was yelled to get out. He was hungry and treated badly by the owner of the cafe. She slipped out back and fed the man at the same time. Kyle met Sandy. They would call their victims the models. They ended up getting married. Arvin's mother and father get a small shack and hope to improve it over time. As Arvin grows up, his mother then gets ill and is diagnosed with cancer. Arvin Russells' father was not sound of mind. He killed a man on a cross during the war. He was still alive, although he looked dead. He then shot the man in the head to put him out of his misery. Arvin's father seems to be losing his mind, tells his son to pray harder or his mother will die, and he strikes the poor innocent boy, brainwashing him in front of a makeshift cross he made on his own. The same day he was praying there with his father, a few men talked about his wife and how they may go into his home and rape her while he was gone. Arvin's mother's death was sad. His father would have done anything to save his mother. She then dies and his father goes crazier than he once was before. The new preacher just out of seminary school arrives at the local church, and Arvin's grandmother doesn't have much to cook, so buys some livers and fries them up and presents them to the new preacher. He shames her and she is embarrassed because she is poor and has not much to offer the new pastor of the church till his uncle returns or doesn't. Lenora, a child of a girl who was supposed to marry Arvin's father, but it would never be. Arvin's father fell in love with a kind waitress and the rest was history. Leonora goes to her mother's grave and reads the Bible to her, and Arvin waits for her. Being the other boys chase her after school and call her ugly. Once they put a bag over her head and tried to beat her. After this incident, Arvin stalked them and beat them once by one. Lenora's father was murdered. Carl and Sandy led many men into the woods as countless others and murdered for no reason but for their photos and sick fetish to kill. Carnage was their fetish. One of soldiers they took once was maimed and his genitals cut off. Sandy and Kyle have been going on summer trips and bodies have been popping up here and there, so her brother usually covers it up, but now that he is going to run for sheriff he must secure loose ends. Sandy and Kyle get ready for another trip. They call their victims models and they act as if they are giving a run boy the time of their lives. This time Sandy does not want to go. She packs early and Kyle sees this as a bad omen and doesn't feel comfortable with Sandy for some reason on this trip particularly, and he and Sandy argue about her packing early. He doesn't trust her. Sandy is the bait and Carl is the shooter. One day or two after Lenora died, he hitched a ride from Sandy and Carl. He spoke to them, they spoke about God, and then they went to the same place they take all their victims in the deep backwoods, set up a picnic and asked Roy to take some photos and sleep with Carl's wife. Of course Roy was a sinner as he killed Helen in cold blood. He tells Carl he never heard such a thing and told Carl he thought they were good Christian people. He wanted to leave. And he did until Carl came up to him and shot him in cold blood. Roy had a last request, but it wasn't fulfilled. That would implicate them in the death of Roy Lafferty. Of course they still took a picture with Roy and kept it in their album of murder evidence that sometimes they succeeded and sometime they failed. Photos are kept for each and every victim, and as her brother visits he finds a photo of a dead man who was killed by them years ago, Lenora's father. He killed her mother, so it was what was coming to him. Unfortunately this was a sad end for Lenora's mother. She never was able to see her grow up. Lenora meets up with the preacher and she is with child and she goes to tell him, only he tells her she is delusional and what she thought happened between them never did. He convinces her she is crazy. Of course he is married and soon Arvin begins to stalk him and finds he does this multiple girls, using his preaching to get into girls' heads. Lenora is concerned of the shame she has brought on the Russells home. After being so ashamed she goes to hang herself and then decides not to, but it's too late. She slips and hangs herself. This Sunday she didn't go to church because she didn't feel well, morning sickness. After crying out for help to Arvin, she is left all alone. Even though Arvin asked his uncle Earskel to watch over Lenora, he falls asleep and she ends up dead. At the same time Arvin and Emma are at the church house. The preacher says that a girl has a feeling for a fella and gives away her holy gift. It is a devastating thing, being Arvin was the one to find her swinging in the barn dead. Many were not told she died of suicide, but the preacher said he refuses to say words for people who commit suicide. Truth is, this was not a true suicide. Sure, she did put the rope on herself, but she was trying to remove the noose and slipped on the washing bucket for the mop, so in truth she should have had a preacher say words at her funeral. She was as innocent as she was the day she was born. After the funeral, with 3 people present, Lenora is laid to rest, and at work one day a patrolman comes to speak to Arvin about the coroner report that Lenora was with child, and if he knew of it he should have stayed silent, but Arvin had a feeling he knew who the deadbeat daddy was, and it was the same pastor who embarrassed his grandma and drove his stepsister to her death. Arvin stakes out the reverend and watches him for 2 weeks. Arvin stalks Preston, finds out exactly what this preacher man does. When he goes home he doesn't even wash his body before laying down with his poor innocent wife. What kind of man of God is that? Arvin watches as he gets fellatio from his wife. He didn't even bother to take a bath and wash off the sex he had on his before he arrived home. This is a disgusting act. Arvin goes to the church the next day and explains he has a wife and he treats her real bad and he wants to know what to do. The story seems to ring clear to the preacher as he has his back turned. He asked Arvin to show his face. Just then Arvin takes out his daddy's gun given to him by his uncle and shoots the preacher down. He begs for God and his life, but it's too late. Arvin shoots him dead and gets out of town. Arvin returns to his old home and he is told by the same man who helped him the night of his mother's funeral and father's untimely suicide at his made-up church and cross he had on their property. No one has ever lived in the home since the death of his ma and pa, so the house has been empty. He goes up to his father's cross and hears someone in the woods. It's the dirty cop Sandy's brother. He has come to take Arvin in for the death of the preacher and his sister and her husband Carl. Arvin tells Deckard they deserved their deaths. The preacher got his cousin Lenora pregnant and also had other young girls in his car having sex with them as they were underage. He used his pastoral power to make them think it was natural to show themselves as God made them. Preston was a bad man. He didn't even say words for Lenora, called her delusional, and she died as a result of his sin. And then Sandy was a murderer along with her husband. In the end the cop is killed. He tried to kill Arvin. First he assumed the boy knew too much and he could get rid of him by killing him. Deckard would not have to worry about Sandy's sins coming back to haunt him. He died in front of the makeshift church Willard set up in the back of their property in the deep woods. Arvin still explained that he had to kill them. He tells the sheriff his sister and her husband were not good either. He had evidence of their murders and some film negatives he took from Sandy's purse as evidence. As far as Arvin concerned, he protected people from the evil murderous acts luring men to their deaths. Sandy and Kyle did this for 18 years. They had did this many times and had killed Lena's father, so he had to kill them. In the end we see him run away and hitch a ride with a stranger. This time the stranger does seem to be creepy. Arvin is tired and tries not to fall asleep. He sees himself as a soldier and his life passing before him, and then, well, all good things must come to an end. Thank you for watching Devil All the Time review with me. Like this video, comment below what should be review next.
I had no choice. Cleansing power are you washed in the blood of the Lamb. What is it you're most afraid of? Because your worst fear is rats. I was scared plumb to death of spiders, hiding under my mother's long skirts. Spiders crawling through my dreams, laying eggs in my nightmares. They was hanging in their webs everywhere, waiting. That'd fear me all the time, awake or asleep, didn't matter. Now that is what hell is like, brothers and sisters. I got no rest from them days. Until the Lord gave me strength. Brothers and sisters. Behold.
Be crazy.
The Lord looks out for me now.
He just made that up.
Mark my word, people.
Lord Jesus.
The Spirit will take away your fears if you will it.
Arvin Russells!
I'm not a bad person, Sheriff. That preacher was no good. He hurt my sister so bad. She killed herself, Sheriff. I had to... I hate to be the one to tell you this, Sheriff, but your sister and her husband, they weren't no good neither. I got a snapshot in my pocket here of her hugging on some dead guy. Look, you